What's up, guys? Viewers, JJ, welcome to a new video. This is the second episode of the Formula 1 2014 Talk Series. I haven't done one of these for about 2 months. This is all down to me, because I said I'd do one at the end of every race, but in fact, I haven't. I've got two very nice people with me today. I'm only joking. They're two really nasty people. I'm joking again. The first guest today is Smooth Racing, Josh Suttill, whatever you know him as. You'll know him when he sings opera. Come on, Josh.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, now you can shut up. Just say hello.
Hi guys.
Okay, and the other guest is a ginger F1 fan, in the form of Hamilton fan.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about 4 different subjects, which is Kimi Raikkonen, is he a melted ice lolly, as I put it there? Hamilton versus Rosberg Part 2, Sauber's terrible season, and can Vettel come back? So, I'm going to ask Josh first, what do you think of Kimi Raikkonen? Do you think he's done?
Yeah, pretty much. This could definitely be his last season in Formula 1. He's absolutely been destroyed by his teammate Fernando Alonso, and it's quite ironic that his number is 7, half of Fernando Alonso's, because it looks like his performance is half of what Fernando Alonso's is. He's dwindling down in 12th place with a best finish of just 7th place, and that came in Spain and Australia. There's only really been one race where I've ever thought Kimi Raikkonen could actually do well, and that was in Monaco, but then we all know how that ended with contact with Max Chilton, and that pretty much sums up his season. Not just bad luck, but really just being off the pace. Never looked one with the car from the off. Straight away in testing he crashed, and he's still really struggling, and this is probably down to the brake-by-wire, something Kimi Raikkonen has definitely not got the grasp of yet.
Okay, fair enough. So, do you think that Kimi should have retired at the end of last year?
No, because I think that was probably, maybe not his peak, but certainly in 2012 and 2013 was a brilliant comeback. Definitely one of the best we've ever seen in Formula 1. He did an absolutely amazing job in that Lotus. You know, just to get that win in Australia was amazing. But I think everyone was thinking he's going to come to Ferrari and really challenge Alonso, but he really hasn't, and maybe this should be his last year.
Thank you for the opinion, Josh. So, Matt Tewson, what are your thoughts on Kimi Raikkonen?
I kind of agree with Josh. I really don't see him continuing F1 for much longer, because I think he's had his best time in F1. I think he's past his best in F1. He's just not having a good season. He's even being owned by teams such as Toro Rosso at times. So I really don't think that we're going to see Raikkonen in F1 for much longer.
So I'll ask you the same question. Do you think that he should have retired at the end of last year?
No, because he did do well last year, but I think it was kind of the second half of last year where he kind of reached the end of his peak, because he was constantly being outpaced by Romain Grosjean, and since then, just nothing's worked for him.
Fair enough there. Right, that's the first question done then. So, the next question is obviously about Hamilton and Rosberg. So, Josh, do you think that Rosberg's got the upper hand on Hamilton now?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've seen the tide turning ever since Monaco. That could be, of course, down to the controversial pole. But nevertheless, it's all about momentum in this season. We've seen from the second race, Lewis Hamilton did an absolutely amazing job by winning 4 races in a row. That is definitely one of the best run of performances I've ever seen. And he did really well, and you could see the motivation carried through then. And then Nico Rosberg picked himself back up, beat Lewis in 3 races in a row. Lewis has hit some really unlucky times this year, but overall, in recent races, Rosberg is looking to have the better pace, and one thing I have to say is Hamilton must strike back by the midpoint in the season, otherwise Rosberg could be running away with this. But of course, it's probably too early to say that, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of twists and turns.
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually lost Matt Tewson, so we'll continue with him when he gets back. But Josh, so do you think that Hamilton's totally out of it now?
No, definitely not, because we've seen so far the difference has been retirements. You know, Hamilton has managed to win 4, Rosberg has only won 3. But the fact that Hamilton has had issues in Australia and Canada has really dented his performance, and also in qualifying he's had a bit of a bad luck in the past few races, and he definitely does need to hit back in the Silverstone, Germany, Hungary, certainly before the midway in the season. And of course, let's not forget Abbey Double, where of course you can get double points. And I think the 14-point gap you need to be watching out for, because that is actually the difference between first and second going to Abu Dhabi. So if Rosberg can get, a lead of more than 14 points going into Abu Dhabi, he'll definitely look good to win the championship. If not, it could come down to who wins that race in Abu Dhabi, and Lewis Hamilton is a bit of a master at that track.
So there's going to be more twists and turns then, according to you, Josh?
Yeah, definitely. Rosberg has had quite a bit of luck, really, in this part of the season. Expect that to change, especially I think last year he didn't have the best luck towards the end of the season, but I could be wrong. But I think Lewis Hamilton will certainly start hoping to try and get some wins. And in the midpoint of the season, Hungary, Spa and Monza, Lewis Hamilton is mighty fast.
Awesome. We've actually just regained Hamilton fan just at the right time. I hope he's able to talk. But anyway, hello again, Matt. Josh was actually just talking about the rivalry between Hamilton and Rosberg. So what do you think? Do you think Hamilton's totally out of the title yet?
No, especially because of double points at the last race. First off, sorry about that, my computer decided to disconnect.
That's fine.
Anyway, I don't think it's over yet. I think this could be a very exciting battle. But to be honest, I do think Rosberg's going to win the title because he just has so much more luck than Lewis does, which kind of annoys me at times as well.
But even though Rosberg perhaps has more luck than Lewis, do you think that perhaps, I know in your view Hamilton's a better driver than Rosberg, does it mean that if Hamilton's a better driver than Rosberg, can Hamilton get that back and get that gap back as he proved at the start of the year after Australia?
Possibly, but it just depends on DNFs. It's really annoying. It just depends on DNFs because title battle should be about who's the best driver and with the best car. And I think it's going to be all about who has DNFs.
Do you reckon it'll turn into Prost and Senna and they'll end up going to blows and crash?
Don't know. The season will get a bit more interesting if that does happen.
So twists and turns from Matt Tewson and all. So next we're going to be talking about Sauber. Now, as you know, I think it was 2012, correct me if I'm wrong, that Sergio Perez actually nearly won in Malaysia in the race just behind Fernando Alonso. And this season, they've got Esteban Gutierrez and Adrian Sutil in the car. And they're just awful. Nowhere in sight, no points. What on earth's happened to them, Josh?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say off to I'm a Sutil fan, but I'll remain unbiased in this question. Partly the drivers have done, quite frankly, an awful job, really. They haven't performed. Gutierrez had an amazing chance in Monaco, as did Sutil. Both of them spun out. Of course, that might be down to the drivability of the car, which is very poor. And we've seen this with Sauber. In 2012, as you mentioned, they got 4 podiums. And then in 2013, they started off really bad, but not quite as bad as this, and then they did really strong at the end of the year. Remember when Hülkenberg was battling with Alonso for the higher points position, so I'm not really sure where they've gone wrong with Sauber. Could be due to a lack of funding, and maybe they put a bit too much work into the end of the car they might have put a bit too much effort into the car at the tail end of the last season, because this year they've really turned up to Australia with a very poor car, and I think it could be very tough for them to score points this season. Although I think, like Marussia, they might get into a bit of a lucky circumstance and score some points.
Right, so fair enough there, Josh. So where would you rank Sauber in the teams? Would you rank them in front of Marussia and Caterham, or would you even go far enough to say they're behind Marussia at the moment?
I don't think that's quite true. Certainly on the street tracks, Sauber are very close to Marussia. Marussia, nearly overtaking them. But when we get to the tracks like Silverstone, where downforce is very important, I think Sauber are probably the 9th best team ahead of Marussia and Caterham. And, Lotus have also had a bad season, so I expect Sauber and Lotus to be duelling throughout the season.
Very good explanation there, Josh. So, Matt, what do you think of Sauber's downfall?
I don't think it's anything that the drivers have done. I think it's just the car. It's just terrible. Because even if they had someone like Lewis Hamilton or Sebastian Vettel in the car, they still wouldn't have scored points. They wouldn't have done any better than what Sutil and Gutierrez are doing. Because the car's just awful. I actually said, I think it was to stop Matt one time, I actually said that I think Marussia have a quicker car than Sauber at the moment.
Josh, what would you just say about what Matt's just said?
I have to disagree, because I don't think Marussia do have a quicker car. I think if you look at the circumstances where Marussia have been Sauber, it's been down to a lot of luck and also, maybe a bit of a better driver. But I think, overall in the race, Sauber definitely have a better car. And I think towards the end of the season, they will improve the car and get back to a bit of the old form, probably jump Lotus and maybe a bit closer to Toro Rosso.
Oh, I love a debate. So, Matt, have you got anything to say in reply to that?
Nope, not really.
Right, anyway, let's move on to the final topic of today. And of course, Vettel this year has had a pretty awful season. His younger teammate, Daniel Ricciardo, is third in the standings, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he is. And Daniel Ricciardo has been seen as the best of the rest at the moment, and Vettel's nowhere. I'm going to start with you this time, Matt, because I know that you're very much a Hamilton fan. You hated Vettel's dominance last year, and the years before. So, do you almost think that this is deserved for Sebastian Vettel?
Yeah. Well, yes, I do. But as much as I don't like him, I do feel for him. Like, after his problem in Austria, I did actually say that I did feel for him a little bit. See, even though, as much as many people don't like him, he doesn't really deserve it, to be honest.
Yes, so, yeah, definitely. So, what do you think? Do you think that it's just because he's got a worse car this year that he's not performing? And obviously Daniel's come from a Toro Rosso team, which isn't great, and he's come to a much better car. Do you think that Ricciardo's just driving the car better because he's come from that lower sort of team?
I think it's just that Vettel has struggled to get used to these new cars. I think by the end of the season, Vettel will be better than Ricciardo. The thing is, I think it's all been like complete fresh start. All these new cars are completely different to the old ones.
Absolutely.
And everyone is basically rookies in this way because they're basically different cars. And I think Ricciardo's just mastered this better.
So, do you think Bernie Eccleston will like this then, Vettel not doing well?
Not sure.
Because obviously, I'll move on to you for this one, Josh. But in the end of the day, Vettel's had a 4-year spell of dominance in the sport. And, it's a bit like Schumacher. We've always had a dominant force in the sport, and this year it's Mercedes. So, do you think that Bernie Eccleston's happy that it's more of an open championship, obviously with the two cars, as opposed to just Vettel? Or do you think that Bernie Eccleston just still thinks, well, it's pointless because it's still a dominant championship for whoever it is?
I think what he doesn't realise is that there's always been dominance in Formula 1, and you can't get a year, a string of years where there isn't. 2012 was a bit of a freak year, but even then, Red Bull dominated the second half of the season. I think Bernie, we can see that he's obviously not pleased with the dominance either way because the FIA are bringing in all these stupid regulations like the safety car restarts, clearly trying to make the racing exciting. Obviously, he's still not pleased with the racing and still not pleased with the winners. But I do think he'll be happier than when it was Vettel because at least at this point we've got Rosberg and Hamilton really giving it a good go. And even if that Red Bull car did get quicker, then of course it would be interesting to see the battle between Ricciardo and Vettel in terms of the championship because currently there are 23 points between them. Obviously, Vettel has managed to pick up 2 podiums, and then Daniel Ricciardo. And that win in Canada would have given him a huge amount of confidence into beating Vettel in the second part of the season.
So, can Vettel come back?
Maybe. I don't think in this season, I think overall in the standings, Ricciardo will beat him. Towards the end of the season, maybe Vettel will get the better of him, but I don't think he's going to dominate him. And I still think at the end of the year, Ricciardo will be the faster driver in terms of this year's car, just because Ricciardo has had experience in, these sorts of cars, not in particular Formula 1 cars, but cars that kind of handle similar to this year's cars more than Vettel. So I think 2015 will be the sort of comeback year for Vettel.
Yeah, absolutely there. Just to point the issue out, obviously the FIA has said that there'll be a standing start after the safety car next year. So Matt, what do you think of that?
I'm quite happy with that rule because, say there's a race that Rosberg is absolutely dominating, and then the safety car comes out because, say, maybe a Caterham or Marussia has crashed.
Yep.
Then the restart comes and he gets a bad start, and then Hamilton gets the jump in, and pulls away.
But surely that would be unfair, wouldn't it, if he was like 40 seconds ahead, and then, you know, he just gets a bad start, and then, you know, he's been overtook. Surely that's unfair, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah, I think if it was the other way around, Lewis Hamilton, say a minute ahead, he's done an absolutely amazing job. He's led from pole position. He's done a great job, and then someone crashes, there's a safety car, they restart the race, he has a clutch problem, he's out of the race, and it's all because we have safety car restarts. I think they're a bad idea. It makes it too artificial. People are always complaining that Formula 1 is too sort of, you know, changed. It should just be about raw pace.
Pricing, yeah.
And then they've gone and done this. It's absolutely absurd. I think it definitely needs to be changed, just like double points, just like a number of things, and probably a number of things in the future will be changed just to supposedly make the racing exciting. And of course it will be more exciting. I do agree with that. I don't deny that. It will provide some good races. And maybe if it does pass, then more people sort of get used to it, and maybe it'll just become a part of Formula 1, just like the safety car is now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, I totally agree with you there, Josh. But obviously, well, you know, the double points have been coming to make it more entertaining. You know, do you think more viewers will watch if the standing starts, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. So going back on what you said, saying that it might be a bit unfair, well, on restarts now, people can get bad restarts and can lose the lead.
Oh yeah, of course, I totally agree with that. But at the end of the day, you know, a restart from 60 mile an hour, from a restart to, you know, 0 mile an hour and absolutely just getting restarted, surely that's a little bit different.
But, well then, there's more driver skill involved. If they want to maintain, the leader wants to maintain the lead, he has to get a good start.
Fair enough, but like, if you're in somewhere like Monaco, say, and you've got like Rosberg a minute ahead, and then say, I don't know, there's a massive pile-up at the first corner, and then there's another safety car that comes out, and then there's another standing start, and then there's another pile-up at the first corner, and it's just going to be a continual scale, and I think people are going to get so bored they turn the telly off, because there's been about 5 standing starts. What do you think there, Josh? I mean, I'm probably exaggerating it a lot, but you know what I mean?
No, but it could happen, and another sort of circumstance, the races could be a lot longer, and channel hoppers might just hop on, see a crash, this is cool, but then, you know, the restart happens and they're already bored because they can't wait in between. And think about, like, the people, say there was 2 cars and then one of them crashed, and then, you know, how do you regulate where people are going to start on the grid, and if people have been lapped, how do you do that? Mm-hmm. And it would get quite complicated seeing where everyone is. You can see in GP2 whenever there's a red flag, there's always major confusion. And also, I believe it was in Monaco, where I can't remember.
Gutierrez, Chilton and Bianchi, wasn't it? Something
yeah,
like
they're
that.
all in the wrong grid positions just because someone had started from the pits, and that wasn't even a safety car restart. So it could be thrown in quite a bit of havoc, but I probably will still stand. I can't see them reversing that choice.
Yeah, so I believe, is the limit on a Formula 1 race 2 hours now, or is it something like
4?
4. Oh, well, okay then. But obviously, you know, if there's so many standing restarts, there's going to be, you know, like 5-10 minutes left to every restart, and then you're going to run into, like say at Canada, for instance, you know, the race starts, it's 7 o'clock our time, I think, and then, you know, it usually goes on for 2 hours anyway, and it'll be getting dark, yeah, like you say, it'll be getting dark, like Abu Dhabi, what do? You're 2 hours into the race, it goes absolutely pitch black, and you're racing a night race.
And also, what about Singapore?
What about Singapore?
It starts going day.
Yeah, it'll start going daytime like the GP2. But yeah, I think that's pretty much enough on that, because the viewers be thinking, Christ's sake, when will they stop talking about them standing restarts? We get what they're on about. But anyway, I don't think there's anything more to talk about. Anything you two want to cover?
Nope.
Then. Sorry, go on.
Just about the Mercedes conspiracy. That's I don't support that. That's nothing there.
So I think that's fair to say that that's our final thought then. So, on that bombshell, as Jeremy Clarkson would say, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for you two coming on. Both your channels will be in the description. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I always say this about 500 times, so you can just skip to like 2 minutes after now. But anyway, I'm going to say it again. Okay, let me just stop it now. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the 3rd episode. Make sure to put ideas for subjects to talk about, and any comments towards the 3 of us, put us in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra!